I can take your database and I can export it into a spreadsheet like this. So you will have to come, this is, like I said, this is my division, my subdivision, and my item. So imagine I'm looking at this and I said, you know what? In a case like yours, I don't never going to do any kind of fencing around the job site. That's not my job. So none of this stuff applies to me. So you just go, boom, and you're going to clear the content of that. And then you're going to go down the line and say, I don't use rebar any bigger than
Right.
4 or 3. So this goes out. And that's what I mean. And then I will take whatever's information is here, and then I will try to clean it up and organize it in its proper place. Like, for example, flooring. I can have a division called, demolition. And you can have, okay, this, my division, watch this, it'll be demolition. And then my subdivision will be flooring. And then we'll tile floor. And then we'll have carpet. And everything that's floor demolition will be under that, right? And then I will create another one that will say wall. And then it will be tile wall, drywall, blah, blah, blah. And that's how I would like to organize my databases. So it's intuitive. I know if I want to demolish a wall, I'm going to go to demolition wall. And I'm going to find everything I need in there for that. And if I want to paint, I'm going to, there's a difference. Paint is not a good example. I think I should have quit what I was at. Demolition of flooring, demolition of wall. And then in there, include every possible scenario. And even if it's not there, it comes up. It's just as simple as adding it to the database, and the software will just pick it up on the assembly, and you're done.
Yeah, if you change the column A, like all the numbering, so would that screw up the database, though, if you've already got, like, past estimates and like items and stuff attached to those numbers, or would it automatically update it and reorganize the assemblies?
I can keep the same numbers. That's not the problem. But what I would try to do is, let's say, the current database is there. You have SM and your stuff attached to it, right? So I took all that information and put it here. You clean out everything that you were not going to use.
Right.
And we have a new database, right?
Well, what I'm asking though is like, how you have architect, building permit, draftsman, engineer, supervision, and surveyor, like right there for an example. Those ones, It looks like those are in alphabetical order. So let's just say for some reason I want them like backwards. I want it to be surveyor, supervision, engineer, draftsman, building permit, architect. Then I come over to the numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. What if I make 60, 10, and 50, 20? You know what I mean? To where I change those numbers. Yeah. Would that screw up the database and assemblies and stuff that's already in there?
No, it would just rearrange the organization. How do you want it set up? If you want the ones at the top, yeah, it would basically we just move it from one location to the other.
Okay, because doing it that way is a hell of a lot easier than trying to do it within ProEst, is why I was asking.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you can do it.
If you want to do it on your own, Greg, the support team can walk you through it too, and they can go through the templates.
Who?
Show you how to export, and the support team.
Okay.
So they'll be able to walk. If this is something that you want to do on your own, the support team can certainly show you how to the templates.
So if I worked with Manny like hourly, what would it be if I'm doing I guess I forgot what you called it, like consulting or whatever. Like you said two different things. One was the 8 hours of consulting, and then there was like hourly.
Right. So the $14.95 pretty much includes Manny working with you on importing information from one of our templates, and that would include 8 hours of consulting time. So that would mean him working with you on making sure that the information is correct. And then anything after that, anything beyond that scope of work is pretty much, it's $150 an hour. Okay. So there's two ways we can handle this. We can start.
What did you mean by the template? What did you mean by the template?
This template here, like this is a template here. This is how a template that we.
Oh, okay. You mean the code, division code, all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could handle that first, and then after that, then we can maybe talk about the assemblies, or if you want to, and then maybe that's how I would do it. I would say let's start with the data conversion, and then once we complete that, then we can go over the assemblies that you're trying to recreate, and then Manny can let us know how many hours he thinks it's going to take him to while working with you. And then we can come forward and let you know how much it would be based off of that hunt. Either we can give you a lump sum, or we could say, okay, you're saying it's 8 hours, so off of 8 hours, it's going to be $150 an hour, right?
Okay. And then what if I did training where, like, would that just be the same as the ProEst training blocks that you have now, where I just, like, instead of doing training with Joe, I did training with Manny, so that he can kind of say, here's what I would do first, kind of like we did now, and then I would say, okay, got it, and then I would actually export it to Excel and, change things around, and then, like, have another session with them, go, hey, here's what I've done so far, am I on track? Yeah, you're doing great. And, like, I just keep doing training sessions with him. Would that still be the same as the training block?
I mean, if you want to just do training with Manny, then we can look at the different packages. I'm assuming we're going to want to start with at least 6 hours, right? Because this is quite a bit of work to go through.
Right.
If you just kind of want to work with him in that direction, then we can work on. But then at this point, it's still the same guideline where you're going to have to do the work, right? He's just kind of on the line, training you, obviously trying to consult you, but he's not going to be working on anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for now, the way that I see it for now is, honestly, like $1,500, and then hourly $150. Like, that's a lot of money, and I know that there's a lot of work to do here. And so I think if I did like more like training, that's something, for one, I could more afford, and then for two, it's kind of like to be paying $150 plus an hour to do a bunch of footwork that someone else could do. I'd be able to save money, and the other part of it is, how is he going to know what to delete or not to delete? It's like there's a lot of footwork that I have to do also involved with that. So that's why I was thinking it might be better to do like training blocks with Manny, so that he says, here's what I would do first, and then I basically spend 20 hours doing a bunch of footwork, and then come back with him and go, okay, now what? Okay, do this, then I do that. Then it gets to the point where it's kind of like, okay, now I need your help creating assemblies or whatever. Then it's like, again, we're doing training and he's showing me. And if it gets to the point where it's like, I feel really good about the system being cleaned up and everything going on, and I know how to do it if I need to edit stuff for the future. And then also, then it might get to the point where then I do like a big block with him saying, okay, now you take over and finish. Like that kind of thing is what I'm thinking.
I mean, certainly we can do that, but there's just a difference on the amount of involvement that Manny's going to be doing, like I said, behind the scenes, right? So his time would be, when you would schedule, I would schedule those trainings for you,
right,
with Manny based on his calendar, because he's traveling and doing a few things, and I'm sure Manny would certainly try to block out a couple hours if we were able to do it based on his schedule. But yeah, if that's the direction you want to go because it's more cost effective, and you feel like you're going to have the time to do a lot of the footwork, then that's perfect. That's definitely not a problem. We'll just have to look at, obviously, how many hours of training you want to start off with.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that'd be. I'm just saying that's what I'd like to do at first, until it gets to the point where, it's like Manny and I feel more confident, like, okay, he can take off from here, and he feels like, I need 4 hours or 8 hours or whatever it is, and then he can give me an estimate on taking over and finishing up everything, and then that's when we would do the bigger block after I've done all the legwork on deleting and trying to clean up the database. So
yeah. No, that's perfect. So from now that we know that we have to clean up the database, I can actually, so that you're not using, obviously your training hours that we're going to have to purchase for Manny, let's connect you with the support team so they can go over, show you how to do that. So at least you have that basis. So, you know how to kind of get started with that, until we can actually schedule you for some actual training with Manny.
Okay. So you mean talk to support about training blocks?
I think what she said.
No, about talking, exporting the information, showing you how to export the
information.
Oh,
got it.
Right now, your main thing right now is cleaning out your database, right?
Right.
So, exporting it out, so it's on an Excel template like that. and then kind of going through maybe some of the items, kind of go over it on your own. So once we actually get you scheduled in for training with Manny, you kind of already started that part. I don't want you to use, your hour of training on him showing you how to export that information out.
Right, okay, I got it.
Something that you purchased.
I got
You know
you.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I would say, right, Manny, you think I should connect them with support and have them show him how to export the information out? And then,
sure, and that'll be the first thing.
Yeah.
So, like, to give you an idea,
I'm pretty sure you do that through ProEst maintenance, and
yes,
I think I've done that before actually. You just go to ProEst maintenance and put export items, and then it creates an Excel spreadsheet, and then you open up the spreadsheet, and then it looks just like what Manny showed us. So I think I actually already know how to do that.
Yeah, just come here. This is the menu, export data.
Yeah, right there. Yeah.
And then you're gonna choose the proper database, and you're gonna export it. Make sure you know where you put it, and start with that. Dump everything into a spreadsheet, and start looking at it. And let's first don't even organize. Take out the stuff that you don't need. Let's start with that. It's easy to organize 5 items to 10,000, then delete half of them. Take out the stuff you don't need. After all that stuff is gone, then we can have a session, and I'll show you. Okay, this is how you should break it down. And then then you can do all that. That's going to take you quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
And if you have the assembly all cleaned up, and this is how the items, like for example, you see this is a database for a company that does only masonry work. That's all they do. So notice there's nothing here for drywall. There's nothing here that is not related to what they do.
Right.
So when they go to look for an item, everything is in there. It's still pretty expensive because masons have all kind of work, but they know exactly motors. If you go to motor, you're going to find every typical type of motors there is, and so forth and so on. That's how I would approach this.
Well, it looks like they don't have CSI either, which my database is like half CSI, half not.
I got to tell you, no. I mean, I think I can count with the fingers of one hand how many people actually help to use CSI. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Because they want it built more intuitive, like they got to build the estimate just like they build the actual, do the actual construction. And that'll be the best way to do it. So again, ideally what we want to do is export all that information, and then when you're done with it and we import it back, we should be able to open up everything and be exactly how you want it. Equipment, all the equipment in one place.
All those divisions, the way they have them there, to me that would be service items instead for me.
Sure, that's fine.
That would be like,
all right, so guys, I apologize, but I have to run into another meeting that's going to start here.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
That I got to get ready for. So why don't we do this? Do you want me to send you a quote for starting 6 hours with Manny, Greg? And then, you obviously export the information out, and then you let me know when you're ready to take care of it, and then we can go over his calendar with you and I can schedule you some training.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Greg, for now, Greg, the first thing you want to do is like I told you. And let's take it more complicated than what it is. You're going to go ahead and you're going to export that information, and you're going to take out the stuff that we don't need. Don't worry about organizing it. And you give me a call, and I'll tell you, okay, this is step B. And I'll give you the step B, and you go at it like you're going to do with this now until it's, to the point that we feel it can be imported into the database. And then once it's imported into the database, then you and I start creating the assemblies, okay?
Okay. And if we have a 6-hour block and we just talk for 15 minutes here and there at first, is that still okay? And then later, as it gets more in depth, then we have longer calls? That's still okay?
Yeah, man. No, okay. We're not attorneys, so I'm not going to sit there and talk.
Okay. All right.
So,
I don't know if block out 6 hours at one time.
No, hell no.
No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. I just feel like in the beginning it's going to be like a 15-minute call, and then like a bunch of hours of work for me to do, and then it might be 15 minutes, and then later down the road it's going to be like, okay, now I need an hour, so it'll change is all. So I want to make sure I didn't have to do like an hour at a time, because that wouldn't be so good.
No.
So,
and like I said, we're not attorneys. If I can answer a couple of questions for you, I'm not going to say, okay, great, that was 22 seconds, so now you got an hour minus 22 seconds. Okay? So
all right.
Manny will let me know once the hours are once he's going to start clocking the hours.
Okay.
So
all right.
Don't worry about it. Okay, Greg?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, brother.
All right.